Jen here. It's been a minute. I apologize. I started a little job and it is a little time consuming and difficult for me because, my body has some issues. So walking to work and biking to work and the weather plays a big part in how I feel. So anyways, I've just been adjusting to that. This first topic that we're going to delve into, I wanted to do something kind of laid back today. It's actually not super laid back. It's kind of intense for me personally, but I wanted it to be something not laid out and planned out, I guess, for you guys. Because things have been pretty tense for a while now, and I hope that things have eased up for some of you. I don't get as much communication as I used to. I expected things like that to start happening as more time went on and we got further into this time of tribulation. And I'm going to turn the comments on, but let's be respectful. All are welcome here. Only hate is not welcome. Let's not cuss or get gross either, because there are young ones out and about online all the time, and we never know where they might be. So let's just be respectful. Now I know that my personal testimony is hard for some people to swallow. It might be hard to believe. I want that to be very clear up front. I know that myself, I would have called somebody who came to me with a story similar to this crazy, back before I had any sensitivity to using those types of words and before I had more life experience. Come on, lay down. Come on. Little girl, come here. I got the dogs in here with me, as always. No studio for us, huh? No, we're not. We're not posh like that. We're not that important, but it's all good. And I've never done the Willy Wonka video that I wanted to do, and I really just want to tell people who I think the unknown is. So if you're interested in knowing, let me know, and maybe I'll do a short video about that. Because I know who I think it was, but I don't know if I'm correct, but I know who it looked like to me. Okay, so I knew my testimony might be hard to believe, and I went to a local church, Christian church, that I had attended for a while. I was raised Catholic. I was baptized a couple of different times, probably like 4 or 5, if I'm being honest, and I know people don't agree with that. You don't have a lot of control as someone under 18 in this world, so some things we really should stop judging each other about. One of you guys sent me this. Now, I don't get a lot of communication anymore, but somebody sent me this, and number one, let me just give a shout out to this person. I'm not going to say their name because I know that can bring people troubles, and I'll get into that a little bit in a minute. And I have time today and it's raining, so I'll probably just talk for a bit and read you a couple of excerpts from a book and then show you a really interesting story. And you're going to say, well, how does that fit into our current time and this new normal? It hints at deception, at a big, grand deception that is still ongoing. And again, people say there can't be any such thing as a worldwide conspiracy. We all conspire every year. Even the news has Santa Claus's trail so that the children can watch that. And we all keep our mouths shut about certain things regarding Santa Claus. That's a worldwide conspiracy everybody silently and passively agreed on. And most people aren't Christian. Not traditionally anyways anymore. They're just Christian by culture, right? And that's important too right now. In these times is you'll really begin to see if you're not having troubles at this time, if you're not seeing things that are beyond your understanding at this time, and I don't mean UFOs and things grand like that. I mean everyday encounters and conversation and behaviors. And if you're unable to see those things, you're either on the other team knowingly or you're passively ignorant of what's happening. And by ignorant, I just mean, willingly unknowing. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it's really not. Because the information is here for you and people are sharing, but nobody's listening. Now, when I first had all these things start happening, I went to a local church and I knew that it was confidential when I spoke to a pastor, so I didn't feel any type of way about saying certain things. Now, I didn't get in, too deep or anything. In my generation, snitches get stitches, and I'm not stupid. Like, I get that. The problem is that when you're hurting other people and your deceptions hurt other people, I'm called by Christ to expose that. And again, we have people who are Christian by culture, this telling people that you attract the kind of life that you want, and the law of attraction. Tell that to children who are in areas that are being bombed every day. Is that all they're thinking about is war, and that's why it's happening to them? What about the children who had that massive UFO experience? They didn't even know what it was. Were they thinking about it and then it happened? We don't manifest things to that degree. That's not... They tell us that to gaslight us, and I want to give somebody props for not just throwing my story out and calling me crazy, because the whole reason I know that people are going to listen to my testimony and say that girl's nuts. I don't do this for the accolades or for the popularity. And in fact, if I was smart, worldly smart, I would not do this at all. I do this to expose what's happening because it's wickedness, it's evil, it's ruining souls. That's why I do this. I know people are going to make fun of me. I know I'll be a laughingstock. I know it will get even worse than that. I've known since 2017 what my end could be or how this could end for me, and I still do it anyways. And I still stay in the same place physically, because it doesn't matter where you're at spiritually. If you have a hole in your armor, they can reach you. If you have a chink in your armor, they can reach you. If God allows it to happen, they can reach you. There is no distance in the spirit. And I heard that on this interview, and I just wanted to reiterate that. Now, this is Sister Elayna. I will include the link in the video, but if anyone knows her email or how to get a hold of this person, I would really appreciate it. I think I would benefit and she would benefit if we had a conversation together. Her story is a lot like mine. Normally, I'm suspicious of things people send me. You don't know how deep this goes and how much access these other ones have to you and your information. Even if you're not like me and you're not living with them and you're very careful, those things don't matter. I don't know how much of these things I'm sent are just set up for me to be led astray purposely. However, every bit of information that I've gotten that is answered the questions that I had in this crazy time about what's happening have been in prayer and have come from inside of me. And that urging has led me to physical, documented confirmations about everything that I have said. And still, these ones around me want to say that you're crazy, it's your imagination, it's a set of coincidence, there is no such thing as a sky daddy. I don't say that, they say it. And immediately when that is said and God is mocked, I go pray for them and say, please, they don't know what they're doing. But do they know what they're doing? Because if you don't know, it really isn't the same, and it's not as bad as if you do know what you're doing, and you're doing it purposely to lead people astray. So this is Sister Elayna, and someone sent this to me, and she starts talking about her experiences, and she actually uses the targeted individual term, but it's not until she's been speaking for a while and she tells you, like, this is why you are chosen by God. And most of us hate to use that word now or that phrase because it sounds like we think we're better than each other. I don't think I'm better than anyone. And I want to make that clear. There's a line in the Bible that says don't listen to people who about dietary laws, who just do things to be above others. I don't partake of animals as much as I used to anymore. Maybe once every few months I will still, because again, it's an addiction and I'm doing the best that I can do. I don't partake because that's my sacrifice up to God and saying, I'm not going to do any more harm here by choice or knowingly. I'm not going to do any more harm to another. Now, if you bring harm with truth because that hurts somebody's heart, again, these things are different. There is a differentiation and a line of demarcation with this stuff. Why am I talking about this? Because we are living in a new normal. And I do believe testimonies like mine and Elayna's, and I know there's others out there, our testimonies can help you navigate the waters that you're in today. Because, and I wish I had left my other channel up to a degree. In a way, it's kind of like it's useless because there's not a lot of us left here that are still towing the line, trying to repent and still loving others, trying not to do harm, praying. You know, there's not a lot of us here, and it's not because I think I'm better than anyone that I do these things. It's because I had the fear of God put in me because of all the strange things that were occurring around me, and I did not understand what's happening. And people might think it's cool and neat at first and even play with it. And after a while, it will dominate you because you can't possibly give it all the attention that it wants. And what it really wants is not to just be beside you, but to be you. They're called evil spirits. They will walk the earth because they don't have a body of their own, but they do have bloodlines here, and they can attach to those who are of that bloodline. And I think that in part is what's happened. I think it is both physical and spiritual, biological, DNA related, and related spiritually in the hierarchy of things. And I think that's why people like me and this girl, she's the only other one that I said that I've heard in this whole convoluted last 6 or 7 years. The only one that I've heard actually say, this land is ours. We still have domain here. It is still our dominion, and they know this. This is why they fear us, but this is why at the same time they try to surround one of us at a time and pick us off. Because the less of us there are, the bigger their territory gets. It's literal war. But it's spiritual for us. We're not supposed to do any harm. We can defeat them with just words, with just by saying, for as far and as wide as my territory goes, as the Most High Elyon allows, I plead down the blood of Christ and the fire of the Holy Spirit. Every step that I take today, let it be covered in the blood of Christ and the fire of the Holy Spirit and the shalom, the peace of the Lord. This is why you're supposed to say, my peace be with you, my peace I give you, go in peace. We don't speak true peace to one another enough. Shalom. That's what I tell my dogs when they need to calm down. Shalom. And I heard this woman, Elayna, talking about that. There are certain times that coincidence just bears no fruit. And there are certain times when other people manipulating you just doesn't play out, and you are gifted with another genuine individual who has walked in your shoes or is willing to walk in your shoes. And again, why am I talking about this? Why is this important? Because this is a new normal. The Nephilim are among us. It is like the days of Noah again. Noah means the peace of the Lord. She says the rest of the Lord. But we know that in the days of Noah, Noah was the only one who had the peace of the Lord. But at the same time, we know what he was surrounded by. And we are in that same predicament today. Electronics and cameras have been around for a lot longer than they're telling you. I think that certain movies are actual real things playing out. And I don't want to get into too much woo-woo right now, but the deception goes very deep as to far as how manipulated we have been, and as to the kind of chessboard we are actually on. Elayna doesn't speak to that as much, But you should be angry that your life and your life essence, your loose, your soul, pieces of you are actually being stolen from you and hijacked by others. Money isn't anything. They can print more of it and you say, oh, well, that will cause this, that, and the other because people love their intelligence and their degrees and they want to be financial advisors. Look, that's great if you got a lot of money or whatever, but these people don't need that. That's not why they do it. They want us to be materialists because they know God is real. And they know if we are caught in at least one of the 7 deadly sins, that's a hole in our armor, that they have access to us then. Even people who love God, if you get lost to sin, this is why God wants you protected and under his habitation. But if you are willingly opening doors, sometimes he'll protect you, but sometimes he will allow things to unfold in your life so that you are brought to awareness like he did with me. They know that God is real, and they hate him. They do not like God. It doesn't matter what they look like on the outside. These people dress up in these uniforms and these costumes every day. They wear human skin like a suit. They wear a suit as if that makes them look more acceptable. The fact that they're wearing suits and calling it church should tip you off to something. Suits were never a good thing to people who were normal, God-fearing people who grew their own food, sustained themselves, and lived on farms. You didn't trust people who came to the door, knocking on your door in a suit. We've forgotten all this. We've forgotten all and it's not superstition. It might be a little bit of folklore or mythology, and mythology only means history. But our ancestors weren't stupid. They knew things, and they tried to tell us with stories and fairy tales and parables and haikus and poems and just all this lore. And they don't want you to get scared, so they don't tell you that it's real immediately. So I'm going to include the link to this Elayna. Her testimony is a lot like mine. My dog, of course, is fussing because I'm doing this, but he is older, so I have to go check on him. In a moment, I'm going to read you an excerpt from this book, and I pulled up an image, I think, there. Why won't you disappear? Disappear. Dang it. There. Sorry. Jackson, you're fine. Please stop fussing. Oh, you need water. You need water. So I'm going to read a couple of excerpts from this because I want you to see that we truly do have more in common than we have different. And they don't care at this time how we're divided, if it's based on religion, politics, gender, sexual, sensual preference. They just want us divided. They don't want us talking. They don't want us sharing ideas or experiences. They really cannot create. For whatever reason, there is some differences in our spirits, and they don't create the same way that we do. So they're using these basic scripts on everybody across the country, on all these true targeted individuals. They don't change. Now, how do you know a real TI from a false one? It's real easy. The false ones claim to know the power, or claim to know God, but then they deny the power thereof. They tell you it's all technological. That's not true. I watched a movie made by a family of witches on Prime, and they're actually really good at what they do. They're very artistically creative. But they were telling you a story in one of their movies, and all of their movies include some witchcraft, and one of them included basically a tracing spell, how you would track somebody. And it's really easy. And the shape of what she used looks a lot like these things that I see on the wires above us. And I'm wondering, but anyway, these technologies that they have, you know, and the witchcraft that goes into it. And now again, witchcraft, the occult, hidden, you know, these words bring about some type of superstitious feeling in people. And that was by design. They want you to hear certain words. and they want you to feel a certain type of way so that you start listening to the person delivering the message. Or they call the person crazy so that you block your ears to the message. They don't want you to hear the things that people like me are saying. But it's not just me. I had a big platform, and they knew I was starting to wake up. They knew the things that they did weren't working on me anymore. And they knew that I was recognizing missing time. And they knew that they had to remove my credibility, which I had a decent amount of. And I had a lot of followers and all that stuff. People might have listened. But I still think God is taking care of that in his way. If I'm being streamed somewhere, these people are getting a whole lot of testimony. So I'm going to go to page 69. I didn't even realize. Now this, I'm going to read you a little bit about Islamic and Christian, Judeo-Christian theology regarding jinns and supernatural or paranormal beings. And there's a reason, again, there's a reason that I'm grouping the certain topics together that I'm grouping together. And there's a reason that I talk about the things I'm talking about at the time that I'm talking about them. I know that if you're new here, some of this might not make sense. I'm trying to organize everything into playlists. But again, everything that I speak about, it might not help you now, but hopefully it lands on fertile soil. So that if things start popping off around you, even if you don't know God, even if you don't want to know God, even if you're an atheist right now or an agnostic or even a Gnostic, because I don't believe they were all wrong about things. I want you to be able to access this information and use it when you need to, because something in your spirit is going to awaken you in these times, and you're going to have a choice to make. And I want you to know when these things start happening, I want you to remember back to this video or these videos and say, that crazy woman online was talking about this stuff for years before anyone was listening. And her and a few other, mostly women, are talking about it. Why am I talking about it? Because so many of my own gender have been taken in by this. They like the magic. They like the witchcraft. They were the ones who were first taught in the beginning. Mary came to redeem the female gender after what Eve had done. Okay? That was for the redemption of womankind. How dare you align yourself knowingly with these beings against, number one, other women and their children? Like, how dare you? You should be shamed. The church should be shamed for people like me and Elayna who went to the church asking for help. But God has revealed all of it to us. We have all the answers. We might not have justice in this world. These beings might be walking around and talking, but they're not going to ever have the option of even getting into paradise. They just won't have the option. They won't see the gate. It won't even be open to them. I totally believe that the people that are meant to get there... What are you doing, little girl? She's climbed under my covers and she's... I wish I had the camera turned on. Hey! No, can you stop? I like this blanket. Stop it. Hey! Stop that. She likes to get under the blankets and then she'll just like lay there and cocoon all day. You're gonna get stuck in there. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. People like us speak out to our own detriment. It harms our lives and our livelihoods. It makes jobs very hard to attain or to retain. It makes living very difficult to do because, and again, these people, you're going to say, well, there's no worldwide conspiracy. It can't happen. Number one, there's not as many people as you think there is. They make it look that way. They're very good at making it appear that way. Why do you think people started wearing masks? Because too many of us are probably like, hey, I've seen that person before. The whole crisis actors thing. Yeah. I don't want to get into that aspect of things right now, but again, these beings, they wear Christianity and their Muslimhood, and they wear their religion, and it's a costume. None of it is real. They know what to say. They might even read some of the books. They know how to appear in front of people, and that's a real psychopath to me, is when they know how they should be acting, so they do that in front of people, but then they go buck wild or act like, totally insane or against that ideal. Like, if you know how you should be acting, then why are you doing these things in secret if you know without a doubt that they're wrong? So I'm going to read you a little excerpt here. It says there are two crucial differences between the Islamic and non-Islamic approaches to the study of paranormal phenomenon. What we're looking for, though, is the underlying commonality. Now, when one understands just what this singular cause is, the notion that cryptozoology, ufology, parapsychology, and other such disciplines are all separate and distinct simply vaporizes. Metaphysical studies, the study of the psychology, parapsychology, any research into these topics will lead you to the root, and the root of this is demonic, and demonic means paganistic practices by the fallen ones themselves. They are doing things without the approval and blessing of God, and this is why the fruits are bad or rotten. Now, sometimes it might pay off. Materialistically wise, to us it might appear to pay off. They will always have spiritual debt. They will always have spiritual deficit for not turning back to God, for not having the things they do approved of and blessed by God. They are showing mankind things that we shouldn't be messing with, not because they want to liberate us, but because they know it will corrupt us. They want us low in frequency, in vibration, in spirit, whatever word you're comfortable with. They all pretty much mean the same thing. They all work together. So it says, to understand just what that causes, we need to first turn our attention to ancient Judeo-Christian philosophy, theology, and cosmology, and compare them with their Islamic counterparts. If we do so, we will find the wellspring of many monsters which haunt the human condition, both literally and metaphorically. Now, here's the problem. The problem is the problem of evil. Now, there's a lot of deceptions around us, and I actually think the mysteries are kind of cool to try to uncover and solve, because otherwise life would be pretty boring. But there are certain things we simply should not mess with, and we should leave alone. And other things yet that we ask as people who love life, love God, love all the things that God has sprung forth for us, where did this evil come from? If God is good, then what is evil, right? So many of us ask this. What is suffering for then? I believe that suffering does bring us good fruit and benefits us. However, when suffering stops doing good to your spirit, that's when you know it's probably not mandated by God. If you start falling into, I don't even know how to explain it. There's a way to suffer, right? Now, if your suffering starts pushing you to wickedness and sin, it's probably not godly suffering, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that certain religions will push suffering on you and tell you that how wicked you are, because they want you to be condemned. They want you to condemn yourself in your own heart. And if you do that, well, then why bother being good anymore, right? If you already think you're condemned and you've already judged yourself as condemned, you're not going to even try to live a holy life. And here you might not, you're not even condemned, probably. You're just thinking that you are, and so it leads you to that final destination of giving up. Some religions push suffering on you for that purpose. So again, there is a healthy balance in all of these things. I hope this helps somebody if anybody takes the time to listen. Thanks for being here. The comments are turned on. So let me continue reading this bit. If one asks the average Christian to detail from a religious perspective the different kinds of life which inhabit our universe, they will normally start at the top of the hierarchy, so to speak, and offer a descending hierarchy, which in its simplest terms goes something like this: God, angels, humans, animals, and plants. Not always, though. The angels were supposed to bow to Christ, and he was part man. So there's something in there that God is telling us at that time. Maybe not before that, maybe not with Adam, but with the birth of Christ, the final Adam, he was telling us something. We have dominion over this earth, and the Gnostic, the ones who go too far and say that, like, this was made by wickedness. This isn't for us. They want you to believe it so that you give up, right? If you believed you're condemned, then you'll give up on being holy. If you already believe that this land is not yours, that it's not Eden, that it's not meant to be paradise, then you will give it up to them. And that's exactly what they want. Because if we give it up, God has no choice. God is in a bind himself because he has gifted us with free will. You see how this works? You see how we can all bind each other with just our words and our thoughts and our actions? Put that to play in your everyday life. Now, there are certain things here I don't even want to say because, again, you don't want to give people bad ideas. It's like in the school library having a book of how to build, what chemicals, household chemicals to build, certain devices. And I won't go no further than that, but you get what I'm saying. And she said that in that video too. You guys really, if you have time, you should listen to that. And I will include the link because, again, there are people out there talking about very similar things that I've been talking about for years, and we are trying to be of help, and we are trying to do what we are called to do. I love that she said, I'm not special. I'm not special, and I say that in almost every video. We are a part of a group and a tribe and a family that we didn't even know existed. So it's saying if you find these wicked monsters at the bottom of every theology, why do we have that commonality and where does it come from? So the hierarchy that Christians believe in places them in something of a bind for to explain the existence of supernatural creatures and or phenomena within the context of this hierarchy leaves them very little wiggle room. So now see, again, I don't bind myself to church doctrine either, and I know that if I met like the Pope or a bishop, they would call me probably, they say you're being heretical and that's hearsay or heresy and you need to repent. And if I didn't repent, then they'd probably excommunicate me. And that should show people something of if someone like me gets excommunicated, but you've got all these other things going on. That might actually end up being a good thing if it happens, I guess. People need to know what time it is and where we're at. It is a new normal, and not everybody here is human. And that's just the truth. God may be responsible for the supernatural phenomena generally referred to as miracles, but what of those other phenomena which are at best morally neutral and sometimes downright malign? I'm going to hold here and insert something myself, which I do a lot anyway to avoid copyright infringement things. The evils, right? The demonic. You can summon these things. Now, why can man summon these things if we're not above them in the hierarchy? The problem is you don't know what you're doing. So you have people summoning things, and then they kind of get loose in the world, or they get loose in that family's life and family because they don't know what they're doing, right? And we have sovereignty over them, but they're not supposed to be our pets, and they're not supposed to be our familiar spirits, and they're not supposed to be our personal assistants. We are supposed to tell them where to go and how to get there, and that is it. You go to the foot of the cross and you stay there and you get out of my life. You rebuke it and you get rid of it. But people are conjuring these things and summoning them thinking that they're genies. And really, genie, that's, and again, it's where all these concepts come from. So it says, they cannot be the product of plants and animals for reasons which are too obvious to need elucidation. Neither can they be the product of human beings, for the very nature of supernatural phenomena patently places their origins outside of the material, probably. Yeah, outside of human experience. Finally, we can say that if God is the fount of all goodness, as the followers of all Judeo-Christian and Islamic faiths believe, he surely cannot be responsible for the gratuitous infliction of frightening and overtly evil phenomena as well as benign ones. God may inflict punishment upon the wicked, but he would patently not terrify his own creation with monsters just for the fun of it. I'm going to stop here too and add something else. No, God would not do it for the fun of it. He would do it to save your soul. Now, this is what everybody who does not have Christ is missing. And this is what this book is leaving out right here. And I'll get back to where they go with it. but I'm going to say God won't terrify you and send demons to you just for the fun of it. He will do it to give you the fear of God again and say, oh, wow, this shit is real. If this is real, I need to run to God because only God can protect me from these things. And oh my God, God is real too. I have somebody out there who loves me, who's cheering for me, who's rooting for me. That's the route it's supposed to take your spirit in. So God isn't terrifying us for the fun of it. He's doing it because he loves you. And I know that sounds wicked to people who, especially who don't have children, but if you're a parent and you love your children, you know for a fact that you discipline them because you love them. We know this. And discipline is not abuse. Discipline is not a power control issue. Discipline is simply correction. You're going to correct your child and bring them back onto the proper path. And some of us have strayed so far off the path that we've gone into their territory. And they have to scare us back onto God's, into under his habitation. So no, God doesn't do it for the fun of it. He does it for the salvation of our souls. If he allows it. Okay? Now again, let's get back to what the author is going to propose. This leaves only one explanation that fits comfortably within Judeo-Christian theology. Those preternatural phenomena and cryptozoological monsters which bring terror to the hearts of human beings must be the product of angels. But then we hit another problem. Now that's the thing too. We are above them in the hierarchy. So chances are they're not godly, right? Then we had another problem. Are not angels the messengers of God, his obedient servants in the heavenly realm? The solution from a Christian perspective lies in the belief that there was, eons ago, a war in heaven. And that is what we're still... I'm not trying to get, religious, but that's what we're dealing with. This is why they say as above, so below. There's a war in heaven, so there's war on earth, on land, right? If there's peace in heaven, there will be peace on the land. There was rebellion in heaven by Lucifer, so there will be rebellion on the land. Heaven, when we think of heaven being perfected in all of these things, heaven is simply the name of God's domain. We have to think of it that way. Heaven is simply the name of God's domain. The third heaven or the first heaven, however you look at it. I do believe there's a few of them. But the one at the tippy top, that is just the name of his domain. No one ever said that it was going to be quote unquote perfect. If there's a war happening there, I wouldn't define that as perfect. Maybe we need to redefine our definition of perfect. But all it means is that's God's home and he is above all these things because he created all of them and he watches over all of them. Now something either snuck in, and you can get to that too. Like, well, where did the thought of evil come from? If we're all from God, where did that thought of where did that other half, where's the original origins, right? So we can do this all day long. There are simply some things we have to be comfortable with saying we don't know, but I want to read you one little more part of this. Precisely 1/3 of the angels were tempted into an act of rebellion by the biblical figure known as Satan. These angels abandoned their love of righteousness, were consumed by evil intent, and became wicked creatures known as demons, fallen angels who would thereafter spend their time tormenting and misleading humans to draw them away from the worship of God. This explanation makes sense to a degree. It does because they're arrogant, see? Just like you have everybody wanting to worship Tartarus right now, Tartaria. Ooh, who made all those buildings? We can't possibly do that today. They are so wonderful. They are great. Why are there no bathrooms? Because they were angels. And Tartarus in the Bible, you have to understand the Bible is a map. These things are very physical. We might be in different dimensions, like a deck of cards or a spiral, a slinky. We might be like on top of one another and just not able to see each other. But spirit does not mean that you cannot, I don't know how to say this properly, because I don't think I have the words for it yet. But a spirit does not mean non-invasive, like it can interact with the physical, okay? Spirit's almost like this interchangeable word they used for like invisible essence that they don't quite know what it is. And they say, all the material world is evil. Well, that's more Gnostic. We have to have balance. It's somewhere in the middle there. And it's okay to say we still don't know this yet or why this is like this yet. But we should be seeking for answers and quit expecting the television people to tell us something new. Because the television people have been causing trauma to the American public, or at least everyone I know in my generation, for my whole lifetime. With 9/11 and Pearl Harbor and the reruns of all the war movies, and it's done intentionally. All of these things are done intentionally. And all these Christians now running around with guns. Like, that's not, man, you don't know Christ. That's not Christ. And I'm not going to say he was a mealy-mouthed hippie either, because he wasn't. But just to use your mouth and have strong words doesn't mean you would believe in guns. We're just so far away from what we're supposed to be. And sometimes to get us back on the path, we need scared back onto that path. Glad you're still here. It's the days of knowing the Bible. I agree. Great light. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. It's so nice to have you guys here. It's nice to see you comment too. I'm glad you're still here. I've been working on myself, and just really, and I tried something different and it didn't work. So I'll go back to what I've been doing. But just really a lot of prayer and a lot of talking to God and a lot of looking at myself and saying, okay, I can't change the situation, but I can change my reactions and actions in it and to it. And so that's just really what I've been focused on. And I don't want to say I'm focused on me in that way. However, there is a time when you have to understand, like, in some way I'm going to be judged, whether it's by my own heart and mind, or whether it's by the mind of the ultimate prime creator God, or whether it's by other people. That is going to happen in some way, and I need to be good with me, right? Or at least as good as I can be. But I also need to know my own flaws. That's important. One of them people called me humble at the other job I had, and I almost was like, no, don't say that. Don't call me that. Please don't call me that. You're too humble. Like it was a bad thing, right? Please don't call me that, because if you call me that, then I'll either get pride or I won't be humble anymore because you said it, right? And if you label somebody as humble, it's very hard for them then to be humble. So I just went through this whole internal debate, and I was at least happy with myself that I changed enough to be self-aware of how I'm behaving and not so much on automatic pilot. And that's the problem with these routines that we get into. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you. That's the trap we can get into with just one of the traps. Anyways, it's so glad to have you here. So it says, however, there's something rather strained about this notion. It is hard to imagine that the angelic creation would be so flawed that it would allow for such a rebellion to take place. If God created angels as his servants and messengers, would he really build within them the capability to stage such a gross act of anarchy? Christians are forced to stick with this idea, for without it they are left with no other options when it comes to explaining the existence of malign and frightening paranormal phenomenon. It makes sense, though. Our theology, what is there, if you dig back to the old church, the original Catholic Church, the sacraments and the confession of sin and unburdening yourself, basically, baptism, all of these things make sense to keep these beings at bay. Okay? Now, we can debate all day where they come from. I am very open to God being humble and not arrogant, and not when we think of God creating angels to serve him and worship him, I think that it's very possible we are looking at that in the wrong framework. And I think that's what's wrong to begin with, is the way we're looking at this story. And I think it's causing us this inner conflict that we're having. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that the more I clean my temple out, the more I'm able to see these things. There are certain people that come around me now, and I cannot out them at least not their names, that I cannot abide them being near me. And it's not me running away from them. It's nothing like that. They make my skin crawl. I can see the mark of sin on them. And I don't mean a physical mark. I mean like this, almost like when you use a camera filter. Everything is just a little distorted, like, and these were people that looked different a couple of years ago, right? My skin crawls when they're near me, and I can't abide them touching me. And I think this is why I ended up being diagnosed with fibromyalgia to begin with. But now I've weaned myself off of most of the medicine, and prayer and the Eucharist have helped so much. Like, I can't even begin to, when I was going to the Christian churches, I believe that God wanted me to see that so I could make a knowing, consenting choice as an adult. But there was no spirit there. It was all platitudes and this a lot of these churches today, this prosperity thing. And well, if you're not prosperous, it's your own fault. You're doing something wrong. But they know what it is. The people who are prospering right now and are prospering much and are still human, and they're wearing their Christianity like a costume, they know what's going on. And this is why, people like me and that Elayna that did the interview that I was talking about, I just don't understand. I just don't understand. That's it. We're not going to understand because they're not like us. They're not human. They don't have love in their heart. When they hurt somebody, they don't have guilt. They don't feel shame. They don't know what those things mean. And they think that those things make us weak, not realizing what they're missing out on, but they kind of do. Why do they think they want to be us so badly? Why do they want to get in our skin so badly? Our containers, as they call them, vessels, as the Bible calls them. I don't care what you call them. I just want you to be aware that your body is important, your mind, your soul, your spirit. You are beloved, and that includes your physical form. They're doing something very deceptive with us because our lives should be a lot longer. And I'm not talking about just disease and things of that nature. I'm talking about like literally restarting people, or maybe that's what they do because they are using human vessels now. I don't even know. All I know is that something is taking over the human vessel, right? Now, I was of the belief that if there are raptures, there are multiple raptures. And since time is not a thing for God like it is for us, God is the creator of time. We are in this time matrix, or he's at least the creator of it by proxy. Some people think Satan created time. Decay, entropy, death, time, those things are all together, and they are the yin of the yang. So if it's Satan's domain, I wouldn't be doubtful of that. If time were of his whatever issuance, because God can run rem shot over time. Like, it doesn't matter to him. He's stopped time how many times in the past. So what they're saying is, what's the real origin of the evil here, right? Christians, it says, Islamic scholars assert that the origin of monsters that chase humanity has been nestled comfortably in the Bible all along. Christians simply didn't realize it because nobody reads it. You rely on a man in a suit who's actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. Read Little Red Riding Hood. That's a documentary too. It's not false. This is what they're doing. They're taking over the lives of people and putting on their vessel like it's a business suit. And I know that, call it possession. It's bigger than that, though. It's not, in this time that we're living in, it's a bigger deception than that. I mean, they can do that, yeah, and they want our bodies. I don't think they want clone bodies. They want our bodies for some reason. They don't understand that soul part of us is with it's invisible. Like, you're not going to find it. You can't grab it. You can't hold it. You can't possess it. Like, they can't have it. And that makes them psychopathic, right? Because what happens when somebody goes insane? They keep trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting some type of different result to occur from that. You have to change your test, or your hypothesis, or your theory, or you got to go back to the drawing board. Something's got to change, right? Something's got to give. So, to hunt down the origin of the bizarre creatures which invade our realm with such apparent ease, we must return once again to the hierarchy of life. But this time we must look at it from the Islamic perspective. And this is what I've been saying since day one. There are bits in each piece that are true. And they don't care which one we're under, as long as we're under one and we can be controlled into behaving a certain type of way. And as long as we don't have all of the information. Because once we have all of the information, we realize who we are. And we realize who they really are. And we realize we have dominion here. And we can tell the snake to get out of the garden at this time. You can tell it to go. That's the problem, is nobody's telling them to go. They want to be aligned with these things. They want these material, like, I don't know what they think they're going to get fighting God, right? But I guess they figure they can't have God right here physically with them or something, so they'll take the next, I don't know what they think. Like, I really don't. To me, it's pure madness, because you're going to get burned. I wouldn't even try anything other than telling a demon to get to the foot of the cross, because I'm not trying to mess up, right? Like when you get the 3 wishes in the movies, people always mess it up because you're not specific enough. And then you try to be super specific and then you miss something anyways. And then your 3rd wish is to undo the first 2. It always turns out badly. Always. And they have to warn us of this, right? And that's them. Well, I told them this was going to happen, Lord. And sometimes that's why God has to let things happen, because they're following the legalities they're supposed to follow, right? It's all a court. Where do you think that we got our templates how to set up a court? As above, so below. We got it from above. We once knew God was real too. We once knew angels were real. We once knew they were all beside us and working with us and against us. We knew this. It was open. It wasn't a secret. And that's the problem, is us having to dig it back up. So, however, they not only believe that there may be a multitude of other life forms, so for them it's God, angels, humans, animals, and plants. Isn't that the same as ours? Exactly. Why should God tell us everything? He might have made more, but that there are life forms that he has told us about, but which we have either been blissfully unaware of or we simply choose to ignore. Like the jinn. Muslims have no problem with the idea that there was a non-human entity called Satan, or in Islam is Shaitan. Indeed, the story of Shaitan, Satan, is found within the book of the Quran. Muslims believe was delivered to the Prophet Muhammad and is far more detailed than what's found within the Bible. The Quran provided much more information about Shaitan. It also talks about 2 witnesses, and about when there's 2, that lets you know that one of them at least is a woman, because if there's a woman witness, you have to have someone else backing her up. This is why when that guy told me he was a fallen angel, he did it in front of nobody else but me, because I am the only witness. And nobody believes a lone woman speaking. But if you have 2, like now there's me and I found this Elayna character, then it adds a little more credence to that, to their tale. God told me I was a witness, so that's what I'm doing. And I'll be darned if I'm going to do it until he removes me. It speaks to his very nature, both his strengths and weaknesses from a psychological point of view. Christians are often unaware that Muslims not only worship the same God, but also acknowledge the same devil. Hold here. Let's not get into a theological debate. That's not what this video is about. This is a book. However, I would agree. We need to stop being misled. Certain words mean the same thing. They're just in another language. We have to stop allowing them to fool us. And I don't want to say with our own stupidity, but it really is stupid to say, that that's something different because they're calling it a different name. If we both have a duck in front of us and I'm calling it a duck and you're calling it a shoe, but we're looking and pointing at the same thing, it really doesn't matter. It is what it is. It doesn't matter what name you call it. Okay? So, and I'm not lecturing anybody. I'm trying to say we have the same enemy, and it's not each other. Okay? Furthermore, Muslims also acknowledge that there was indeed a rebellion in heaven precipitated by Satan, and that he succeeded in drawing unto himself a considerable number of followers. Okay, so therefore we are the same up until this point. But there is one vital difference. Both Muslims and the Quran vehemently deny that Shaitan was a fallen angel. The devil, they say, was and is one of the jinn. So he's a demon. The story is related to the Quran as follows. It says, "Indeed, it is we who give life and bring about death. We are the inheritor, and we have already known the former generations among you, and we have already known the later ones which are to come." Boy, that explains targeted individuals, huh? They know us before we're here. "And indeed, your Lord will gather them together, and indeed, he is the all-wise and the all-knowing, and we surely created man out of clay from an altered form of black mud. And the jinn we created earlier from smokeless fire. And to the angels your Lord said, I will create a human being out of clay from an altered form of black mud, and when I have shaped him and breathed into him of my spirit, then shall you fall down to him in prostration." So it sounds like they were having a contest of who could create the better being. Hang on here, though. "We who give life and bring about death, we are the former among you. We surely created man out of clay. Your Lord said, I will create a human being out of clay." I've been wondering about this. Mankind and human being, are those two different races? Are they two words that mean the same thing, or why are they being used? I don't like that, because it says we will create, and then down here it's I. So the angels in there, so they have, like our Genesis, it looks like they have two iterations here like we do. One says I and one says we. Man, I feel like it's just language barrier. Like we're just missing quotations or something. So the angels in their entirety prostrated each and every one of them, but not Iblis. He refused to prostrate with the others. Allah said, "O Iblis, what is it with you that you are not with those who prostrate?" He answered, "I would never prostrate to a human, and you created, a human which you created from clay, from an altered form of black mud." And so Allah said, "Then get out of paradise, for indeed you are expelled, and verily there is a curse upon you until the day of recompense." He, Iblis, replied, "My Lord, then at least reprieve me until the day of resurrection." Allah said, "So be it. You are of those reprieved until the day of the time, which is well known." The time which is well known. Iblis then said, "My Lord, because you have placed me in error, I will certainly make rebellion enticing to those upon the earth, and I will mislead them all except those who are your chosen followers." We can glean an awful lot from this message of the Quran, and the Bible declares, "And the Lord God created man from the dust of the earth and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." This is very similar to the Quranic testimony that God made man from an altered form of black mud, black goo. Both books of Scripture agree then that God utilized elements found within the earth itself as the basic material from which the human form was created, but the finished product was not life in the fullest sense. Yes, and I don't like him. I heard of Jonathan Kleck, and I don't care for him. He's one of the only people that I list by that I've named, because I don't name names. I don't do exposed videos. I don't think he's good for the church. That's just my opinion. I think he's deceptive in his manners, and I think he has unnatural affection, and I think it's very obvious, blatantly obvious. I don't care for him. I watched him for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, and we got a lot of very similar messages, but he's taking people down the Gnostic route. And listen, we can't condemn God's creation. We're not supposed to worship it, but we're not supposed to condemn it. And we're here as we're supposed to tend to the land and the crops and the animals. Like that's what our original purpose was. And if we were fulfilling our original purpose, we would be content. We would have joy. You're not happy ever if you're not doing what you were created to do. And I'm not chastising you personally or anything. I just don't care for him. I think he's deceptive, and he really bothers me with some of the things that he has said. And I think that's the goal. They want us to think aliens or angels created us because they want us, again, to worship them. And you can see this trend, right? anything to take us away from the Most High, anything to take us away from righteousness, right? They don't want us living righteously. And that's just my opinion. I'm not condemning the guy. I'm not saying he's not saved or anything like that. Maybe he's changed in the last couple of years. I don't know. But I did watch him for a bit. People told me all the time I should watch him. And I don't like his way. I don't like how, I don't like how he operates, any of it. Just like donations and stuff, when I did get donations and I put my PayPal link up, it was so minimal, and it was just to help with Sammy's monthly costs. I think it's ignorant when people monetize their channel, but then they say they're suffering, but then you see them doing things like skydiving and whatnot. Like, there's a real bother to me these days with the materialism, because none of those things last. I mean, yeah, I love having new shoes. Don't get me wrong. I would love a new bike and another tent again. I'm the same way, right? I get it. And that's why we have to guard against that stuff, is because we are attracted to shiny, pretty things. And those shiny, pretty things lead us astray. And the people who live like that lead us astray. And we keep wanting it, though, right? We keep watching these people who are flashy and gaudy and live these opulent, lavish lifestyles. And we shouldn't do that. I feel like I have to get rid of more stuff. Like, I only have a room of stuff, and it still feels like it's a room too much. I don't know how to explain it. I've gone through a lot of changes recently, like in my mind and heart, and I don't even know how to describe it. My mother-in-law, I saw her once again. She called me insane. This is a woman like I've loved and looked up to since I was 17, and she knows what's going on. That's why I said these women that have signed up on this, who are willingly learning witchcraft to benefit it from some way themselves, who are going against other women who are simply in the dark or don't know what's happening, shame on you. Half of the things that I fell into, I wouldn't have done if you weren't behind the scenes operating things. All these things that you shame me for now, I never would have even done if you wouldn't have pushed me into the ditch. And I'm not saying my sin is other people's fault, but I am saying that. We are responsible for each other as well as ourselves. Now, granted, we are more responsible for our own words and actions than the actions and words of others. However, if you're responsible for peer pressure, man. If you're sitting there doing a drug and you know it's not good and you know it's not good for this person, but you don't want to be lonely in your usage, hey, come on, do this with me. Oh, no, it's not that bad, not that bad. And then that person gets addicted, and then that person ODs. I'm sorry, but that is partly your responsibility. Maybe not in this world, but in the spirit it is. We're not supposed to be pushing each other into that stuff. But anyways, I saw her, and she called me insane, and I'm like, it doesn't even bother me anymore that people call me that. What bothers me the most is the people who will miss out on my testimony and will think I am just crazy or insane. Someone very specifically, that I tried to warn a couple of years ago, lovely young lady. I think she's just beautiful. Her children are beautiful too. But I know she's in a situation similar to mine. And I know that if things continue on and God doesn't end things very soon, I know that she will end up like me. And I know that beautiful shine she has right now, they will do anything they can to tarnish that. Like, if I could get rid of my tattoos at this point and all the damage that I inflicted upon myself at their urging, and when I say them, I'm literally talking about the Nephilim, about the demonic. They are hiding in the people we love. And I don't consent, never did, never will, for what that's worth as a human being, as a mother, as what I thought was a wife. I don't consent to any of it. Not for myself and not for the rest of mankind, humanity, whatever we are. We are of God. And we need to remember that. Why do we go to evil? Why are we attracted to the darkness? Why do we want people to like us that we should have no business even caring what they think? Okay, so here's another one. Most strikingly, though, we can see that after the creation of angels, but before human beings, according to Islam, God brought into existence another species of life altogether, the jinn. Unlike the creation of human beings, the basic material form which the jinn were formed is described in the Quran as smokeless fire. A growing number, I'm going to disagree with this, and I think you'll like this. It points back to a video I did recently, and it's not a long one, so if you want to watch it, you can. It says, a growing number of Islamic scholars and scientists are coming around to the idea that smokeless fire was simply a euphemism for something else. Plasma. No, it's not plasma. They're wrong. They're wrong, and I can prove it. Hold on. I just did a video on this. It says in the Bible what? That when God created what? Life, he was what? Over the waters, right? Smoke. This is smokeless fire in the water. They're hypothermal vents. And this is the abyss. The abyss is in the ocean. It's not fire. God is a consuming fire. The lake of fire is a different kind of fire, right? Right here. Smokeless fire. Now this has smoke, right? So you could say a smokeless fire might also be lava. But this, I think, is the black... What are we talking about here? Black mud. An altered form of black mud. Because again, God was over the waters when he created life. So all of these things in the lake of fire, right? We call fire that red, that orange and red stuff, right? That we get from a lighter or friction. It makes you really wonder how many of our words were changed to the exact opposite thing, which is very bizarre to think about. Okay, so that's a good intro to what I'm going to talk about now, and this gets weird. This is a totally different topic, but it is related because I believe it shows manipulation by the ones who run things, and it shows that we are left with breadcrumbs and clues, but we have to pick them out of the story. I didn't know who this person was. I didn't know what this area was. I've got to get a picture out real quick again and show you guys. I saw this yesterday. So this is America. This is the East Coast. You see Boston over there? What does that say? The Sargasso Sea. Huh. Yeah, but isn't this the ocean? Now there it says that's the Labrador Sea. Is that actually what that's called up in Canada? I don't know, but this is AccuWeather, okay? Sargasso Sea. Caribbean's down there, which is normal. So what is the Sargasso Sea? What does that mean? I saw it. I was looking. We were looking at a radar app. And I'm like, hold up. What is that talking about? The Sargasso Sea. What is going on? Uh-oh. They're talking about the Malaysian flight. Again, I might have to look at that. So what is this? It's a region of the Atlantic Ocean bounded by 4 currents forming an ocean gyre. Unlike all the other regions called seas, it has no land boundaries. It is distinguished from other parts of the Atlantic Ocean by its characteristic brown, sargassum seaweed and often calm blue water. So how do you get blue water with a bunch of brown seaweed? I don't even want to know how that's possible. So do you see the area they're talking about right there off the coast of North America in the Atlantic? I've never heard it called that, ever. Seas are always something totally separate from oceans. But the Bible only talks of seas. The Bible doesn't use the word ocean. So again, we are fooled. Alright, so I gotta show you something. I have to show you something, and I just have to ask you, am I crazy? Because look at this. And I don't know how some type of deception like this would be brought off other than a Truman-style way. But I want to show you this, and I just want to show you. I'm not going to say anything. Now, first of all, you have to understand that map makers, cartographers, let's say I'm from Africa, right? And I'm an African explorer. I'm going to make Africa bigger than all the rest of the countries just by natural bias. I can't help it. It's going to happen. I'm going to make it the biggest. That happens all over the place with a lot of maps. Whatever country you're in, they always make that country look the biggest. So if you're buying a map made by an American map maker, they're going to make the United States look like the biggest land formation on that map. Okay? Why they do this, really, like what the truth of that is, I don't know. But I watched a lecture from a college professor who knew a great deal about cartography, and I watched it a few years ago. So look at the map. And I just want you to, do you see it? Do you see it yet? Not how it's a puzzle, because they'll tell you, well, that broke away in the great, ignore all that. Look at what you're seeing here. It looks to me, and I could be wrong, I usually am about things, not always, but does South America not look a lot like Africa? Like a lot? And does the United States and the Gulf of Mexico and the Panhandle of Florida, does that not look an awful lot like, It's almost like they took the land masses and copied and pasted them. You know how they can do that with clouds and pictures? How you see the same cloud over and over again? I don't know if you've ever watched that Photoshop video that was going around a while ago, but it shows you how to make copies of clouds. Like how this is why in images sometimes it looks fake, is because it is. Because they copy and paste the same cloud over and over again, right? NASA people do that. If you ever look at the pictures NASA posts of the Earth, it says in tiny print that it's an artist rendering. It's never an actual photograph, ever. Isn't that strange? Now, we all know they've been lying about the shape of where we live, but I think they're lying about a whole lot more than that. And again, this is why they come after me. There's a death deception they're not telling you, and there's an earth deception they're not telling you. And the T, I think, is them making fun of the cross. Because it used to be Eden, and now it's Earth. It's a plane, and they add the T and call it a planet, right? And the T is in the shape of a cross. They call it a diet and say it's for you to lose weight, when really it's just the word die with a cross at the end. Pay attention to these things. They do matter. I don't know why they operate this way. It's very strange to me too. It's just how they operate. Okay, so it's almost like they took the land masses and copied and pasted them and just made them a little bigger. Why would somebody do something like this? To make you think that there's a whole lot more people on the earth than there actually is. Okay? And that way, when you're the one standing alone against something and you think that there's millions standing against you, well, of course, then you're going to bend because you're the only one standing for the truth, right? They want you to think there's more people than there actually are. That's the goal. They hate people. They don't want us here. The only reason they would want us is to serve them or to worship them. And if we're not doing that, they have almost no use for us unless, again, they can use us as some type of resource. But they fear us. Understand that we still have domain and dominion here. And I wanted to show you this to show you how big I think these deceptions are. How many of us TIs have ever been in a plane? Most of us have not. And I bet you if I tried to get a passport or I tried to get on a plane, how many of you want to bet I'd be on the no-fly list? They definitely would not give me a window seat. And they would probably knock me out for the entirety of the whole thing if they let me on one. Because almost everybody who flies is in on this deception. Why? I don't know. Again, they trade their lives and live out these lies for whatever it is they get for doing it. And humans keep letting them do that because we think we have no choice. Okay, so you know what the Sargasso is now, right? It's an area, it's a sea in the middle. Stop it. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, okay? Now, I saw that yesterday. I'm like, oh, a mystery is afoot. I got to figure this out. This is how things work, and I show you this in live time so you can say, Okay, these things that are happening aren't coincidences. Our spirits are leading us to very specific information for a very specific reason. Time has been one of the elements of study on my channels since day one, okay? So I think we have some misunderstanding of it, or I think we could have more control over it than we actually do, and I think it's stolen from us, and I think it's the most valuable currency here, and they want to take that from you. Again, for whatever reason it is. Now, it tells you a little bit about it and when it was first discovered, okay? Christopher Columbus wrote about it. Potentially had shallow waters that could run them aground and trap them. The sea may have been known to earlier mariners as a poem by the late 4th century. Avienus describes a portion of the Atlantic as being covered with seaweed and windless. Another navigator, let's see. Now, again, you hear about these people traveling around the earth. The ones who make it and get rewarded, they're very likely in the club, okay? Because those people are willing to lie. Amelia Earhart, she probably was not willing to lie to people. She probably saw the truth when she was up there. She was not only was she headstrong, but she had money to back her up, and she had a few people that supported her, right? So she wasn't as easily silenced as some of us. When she went up there, she saw something she probably wasn't supposed to see on her grand adventure, or she ran into something in a position that wasn't supposed to be there according to the tools and all that. I'm telling you. They say, oh, everything goes crazy in the Bermuda Triangle. Is that true? Or are you in an area that's reading something that your maps don't tell you? Because maybe, again, we've been misled by this stuff. And I think this is what they do. Anyone that comes onto the truth, they're going to ruin your credibility, and I think that's what they did to this man. Why does this man matter to us? Well, because a lot of things have happened near the Bermuda Triangle, and this has a lot to do with time, and time is very valuable to a lot of us, and some of us have had time literally stolen from us, and now we have these episodes of missing time. So I think it's something we need to understand a lot better than we do. So I don't want to get into the sea itself a lot, but let's look at this. I stumbled upon this guy in July 1969. A British businessman and amateur sailor, Donald Crowhurst, disappeared after his yacht became mired in the Sargasso Sea. Two things. Number one, I think that aliens or the fallen angels come from the sea. They are in our oceans. They are in our Great Lakes. This is why the big change took place near the coasts. This is why people changed, and it's working its way inward, is because it's in the water. They're in the water. Now, water is also a conductor for electricity, which also carries messages, right? We know this. It carries radio waves. It carries voices. Okay, so water and time together at the same time, along with supernatural entities, there's definite room for high strangeness there. Again, why does this concern us? Everything concerns us now. If you live near water, this should concern you. If you live near a Great Lake, you should keep your eyes on the sky or on the lakes and see what's coming out of them. I've seen people get pictures of UFOs going into the lakes, but I've never seen anyone get one of them coming out. And if you had that kind of proof, that would probably be very valuable. There's other people who say they're not physical beings and they're not actual crafts. I would disagree with that. We have to remember that these beings were children of, there is a bloodline, right? So there's a spiritual element and a physical element. We need to not close our eyes to that. And that's what they want, is you closing your eyes to one or the other. They don't care if you're blind in the spirit or blind in the material, but they want you ignoring it and passively consenting to all of these things. So this guy disappeared after his yacht became mired in the Sargasso Sea. Why is he interesting to me? Watch what happens to him throughout his life. He enters the army, the Navy, and for some reason, he's kicked out, dishonorably discharged. We need to know more about this man, because it looks like they ruined his credibility so nobody would look a little deeper at his story. And I would like to find out where I can get the actual transcripts of what he wrote. And let me share this with you because it's wild. So, he's a British businessman and an amateur sailor who disappeared while competing in the Sunday Times Golden Globe race. That's funny because we also have the Golden Globe Awards for Hollywood, right? A single-handed round-the-world yacht race held in 1968 to 69. Soon after starting the race, his boat began taking on water. Crowhurst secretly abandoned the race while reporting false positions in an attempt to appear to complete a circumnavigation without actually doing so. His ship's logbooks found after his disappearance suggest the stress he was under, associated psychological deterioration may have led to his suicide. Listen to his story. And he looks like somebody else, and I can't place him right now, but he's one of the wicked guys. One of the guys they say that runs the Fed. And again, those pictures of those old men, they've been showing them for 20 years and they haven't changed. Those are just to put a fake, they just want to give you a villain. Okay, so he up and disappeared during this race. This is how much people like him, though. They got a picture of him on his wall, mural. His participation in the race has exerted a fascination over many commentators and artists. It has inspired a number of books, stage plays, and films, including a documentary, Deep Water, and 2 feature films, Crowhurst and The Mercy. I think I may have seen one of them because the story is familiar to me, but again, pay attention to what occurs here in his life. Because if you had to have something written down for a targeted individual or somebody that maybe was paid off to disappear, either of those possibilities could be true in this case. Because anyone that flies, anyone that navigates the whole earth, whatever it is, they're in the club because nobody's talking. And we never get to see a real picture of the earth. If it's not a secret, then why aren't they taking pictures of it up there? If it's not a secret, why don't the people I talk about being in the planet? That's no big deal. I don't even remember it. I didn't even look out the window. Okay. So just, again, hang on. He's played by Colin Firth. I actually like him. I might watch that. Okay, so his early life, he was born in British India. His mother was a school teacher, and his father worked in the Indian Railways. During her pregnancy, his mother had long daughter, and Crowhurst, listen to this, was dressed as a girl until the age of 7. This occultic crap always involves the deception of who somebody is on a daily basis. Anyone that is, and that's the problem with the trans movement. That's my real only problem. I don't care what you have under your pants. I don't want to know. That's your business. I don't even care who your partner is. Again, that's your business. I don't think we should be talking about all of it because it's kind of gross to me to just advertise any type of sex all the time, everywhere. It's just not necessary, and it takes the sanctity away from the act altogether. But anyways, anyone that deceives people on a daily basis about who or what they are, you cannot trust them in any way, shape, or form. Not with money, not with your pets, not with your children, especially not with your children, not with your job, not with your health, not with anything. If somebody is walking around lying about who they are on a daily basis, and these people are nurses and cops and judges, they should not be in these positions because they have shown themselves to be a daily deceiver. You cannot trust them. So therefore, they should not be in any position to care for any being or to lay out any type of justice or judgment upon another. People aren't thinking that far ahead. They're just letting themselves be condemned. Well, I can't offend anybody, and I can't, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I don't want to lose my job, or I don't want to make waves, man. Do you see where all this is going? Because we've sat back and done and said nothing. So this guy, he was dressed as a girl till the age of 7, allegedly. Let's continue, because again, something happened here as to where something went wrong, and I don't blatantly mistrust the military all the time, always. I don't trust them now. Back then, I don't know. I don't know. It seems like these people in the army too. I showed you the original cross-dresser from the 1950s when I showed you this is nothing new. They've been trying this for a long time to make it mainstream. That guy, the first cross, whatever you want to call him, the first trans, we called them cross-dressers when I was a kid. The first trans. He was in the army too. He was in the service. So what is going on in the service that you're supposed to be protecting national assets and being safe and secure? What is going on that you have time to learn how to use makeup and dress in somebody else's clothes? Like, what is happening? Like, I'm serious. I want to know. We pay our taxes. You're supposed to protect us. Like, do you even, like, what are you doing? Why are they having free time to use? I mean, I listened to another one the other day about how they were using Ouija boards in the Marines. Why do you have time for that nonsense anyways? Like, what is going on, man? But nobody says nothing. I don't want to offend them. Yeah? Well, how are you going to feel when the whole world is overrun? Oh, wait a second. It's already happened. We are overrun. And people call me crazy because I can see it. And I think if you can't see it, I think that's crazy. So it says his family moved back to England once India gained its independence. The family's retirement savings were invested in Indian sporting goods. I don't know what that says. Benny Hill. So it gets into this, but it says, after leaving the army in the same year, owing to a disciplinary incident, Crowhurst eventually moved to Bridgewater, where he started a business. Okay, so in 1953, he received a Royal Air Force commission as a pilot, but he was asked to leave a year later. Okay, from that. I think that's what the princes were in, like the royal family, because they have to serve. Again, people act like royalty, like they do things because they know, they're servants. These people are servants to the public. But this all has gotten very skewed. After leaving the army in the same year, owing to another incident in 1956, so he tried two different things. Something was going on, though. He was going through some kind of change. Was it because he was dressing as a woman, or was it because of things he discovered that he didn't want to necessarily be quiet about? He started his own business after this called electron utilization. What exactly does that mean? Electron utilization. Well, they said earlier that he ended himself, that he self-deleted, right? That's not what happened. He disappeared. There was no body. He disappeared on that boat. Now, here's what I've put together. I will give you guys these links or whatever to look at this yourself. Here's the race. That's the alleged. Why they had to go up through there, I don't know, but that's the alleged path. Now, they're saying what this guy did was he basically kept 3 journals. One for the real navigational course that the boat was on. The second one was the fake one that he gave to the race commissioners every time he called in. That way he could stay in the race and he could lie. How that benefits him, I don't know. Like, I guess they think he just hung out somewhere and then finished, he didn't go up and around the way he was supposed to, basically is what they're saying. And then he kept another one, which was a private personal journal about metaphysical, philosophical, theological topics. I don't necessarily believe that he kept 2 navigational journals, and I'll tell you why not. The why not is because, number one, they had to have something to give people and tell people, his family especially, if they would have made any noise. They had to have something to tell the public who was watching, right? They're watching this race. This is a big race. If somebody disappeared, they want to know what the heck happened, so they had to be able to tell the public something. This is how you got to read between the lines with what the media gives you. This guy was kicked out of 2 different branches of military service for a reason. They did not want him there. Then he goes to start his new business, his own new business immediately. But after starting that business, he gets into racing yachts for fun, as a hobby. But then he wants to enter this big race. Why? What did he find out through his lessons of navigation in the Navy and then, or the Royal Air Force, I'm sorry. What did he learn? And it doesn't make sense. It tells you the route they think he took, but why would he have been, like, when you put it all together, and I'm not going to read the whole thing here because it gets into a lot of, specifics and details that you can look at if you want to. My point being is what happened. Okay? This is all the things that he did to keep his boat going and to keep the water out, okay? It says that he had only a short time to build the boat, so they're leading you up to all these things for reasons not to believe him, okay? Oh, Peter Eden, that's an interesting last name considering this story. So they're going over, like, why they think that he is not the best sailor, and he was just an amateur, and he didn't do what he should have done, and then he falsified navigation logs. But that's not what I want to look at. I want to show you. They think he was hiding and that he was just sitting somewhere, or at least that's what they're telling the public. That's what they want you to believe. Okay? They think that he appeared to take his life because of all the pressure on him. He now looks certain to win the elapsed time race. If he appeared to have completed the fast circumnavigation, his logbooks would be closely examined by experienced sailors, including the experienced and skeptical Chichester, and the deception would be exposed. It is also likely that he felt guilty about undermining Tetley's genuine circumnavigation so near its completion. He had by this time begun to make his way back as if he had rounded Cape Horn. Crowhurst ended radio transmission on June 29th. The last logbook entry is dated July 1st. The Teignmouth Electron. These are clues, okay? All of this. The Electron, geez, what did it say? The name of his business and the name of his boat are clues. We have to now look up what is Teignmouth Electron. But you're going to say, Jen, why do you care about this story so much? Because this guy was dealing with time. He was in the service. Something either freaked him out or he found out something that made him a danger to other people, or he wanted out of there to work on something private. His story reminds me of Tesla. Somebody kept quiet, somebody made to look crazy or unstable on purpose. And I know how that feels because it's been done to me. Mental condition and final philosophical writings. His behavior as recorded in the logs indicates a complex and troubled psychological state. His commitment to fabricating the voyage seems incomplete and self-defeating, as he reported unrealistically fast progress that was sure to arouse suspicion. But what if he wasn't? What if he was being honest and he wanted everyone to know that the earth isn't as big as we thought it was? What if all this undermining of Disney is because they know every Disney story tells the Bible story? What if all this undermining of Disney is because he can't be here to defend himself now and tell you he was a godly person? What if all this undermining of Disney is occurring because he knew things like this too? What about the song, It's a Small World After All? I had a doll that played that. And when all this kicked off and began, my aunt gave it to me, and I had not seen that doll since I was 8 years old. And if I was some adopted child that nobody cared about, why would you save that? But again, it was another clue. She also showed me pictures of her on some fake Mexican vacation. And I even told her that the pyramid looks kind of fake. And I was not paying a lot of attention. I wasn't realizing at the time that these things were clues. I didn't care so much about people's materialistic, successes. I wanted to hear how she was doing and to laugh with her and, have fun with her in the here and now. And that's just the kind of person that I am. It's not that I didn't care. I just want you to know that. But all these things are related. What if he was telling the truth? What if it was faster because we've been lied to by a whole lot of people? What if all our maps changed and looked different because there was a time when we knew the world was a different shape? A smokeless fire than an elderly incha. It is a fire that doesn't literally... Wait, what? I missed that. Damn it. Can you repost that comment? And if you like the material, or you at least understand the verbiage I use, please give the video a thumbs up. Not for the channel. It's such a small channel, it won't even matter. It just lets me know. And again, if I go over something and you want to hear more of a certain book or a specific thing, go to that video and comment on it and let me know, because I don't usually go back to things unless there's more for us to glean from it. Like this book, I've read a few different pieces of it at a few different times that I feel is relevant to the topics at hand. Now, at first we were going over other being entities. Now we're going over a human being story for a couple of reasons. Number one, so you can see how the media tries to debase certain individuals and tries to make them look unstable purposely so that no one will pay attention to the other details of their life or their story, okay? They don't want you believing testimonies from people like me or Elayna or even this man. It's very possible he did what he was supposed to do and finished so early because the earth is not what we were told it was. And I've also thought, there's a line in the Bible, it says, die to thyself daily, meaning die to your own ego daily. You're here to serve, you're here to love. But what if you get to choose your own time? I mean, they say we die by our own hand anyway, that sin kills us. If somebody self-deletes, and again, this is a thought experiment, I am not promoting it, I'm against it, I'm a pacifist. The topic keeps coming up that people are choosing their own opt-out time. Now, I've already opted out of these individuals' games. I already said I'm not playing this no more. I will witness for God like he asked me to. That's why when I feel the urging inside to tell you guys about something I found, I tell you, they come Washington, D.C. Maritime. Oh, a smokeless fire. Dang it. I missed it again. Virginia, post the comment bump for me, would you, so I can actually read that? Shoot. Okay, so this guy disappeared, basically, right? He spent many hours painstakingly constructing false log entries, often more difficult to complete than real entries because of the celestial navigation research required. I don't believe that. Something else was going on with this man, and he went here for another reason, and we're going to look up what the name of his business and boat mean in a minute, because when you find out what was left, you'll see what I'm getting at. It says he was faced with two impossible situations. That's why they think he ended himself, although they don't have proof of that. It said he's descended into classical paranoia and psychotic disorder in which deluded ideals are built into a complex and intricate structure. A clinical psychologist who included a chapter devoted to Crowhurst in his book postulated that Crowhurst may have suffered from undiagnosed bipolar disorder. Please remember that a lot of psychologists do want to help, but a lot of them enter that field because they are witches and they know all about adding certain substances to water and all about hypnotism and mesmerism. They'll say it's to help you quit smoking or to lose weight. It is just to have access to your brain, man. And especially if you're someone that is disliked, right? And someone that dislikes you is someone with power, like the Nephilim bloodline. Now, it said that could account for his alternation between manic and depressive episodes as evident from the later entries in his logbooks. On June 24th, he began to document these thoughts in a new set of writings in a second logbook entitled Philosophy. Although rambling and incoherent at times, he was attempting to set down for the benefit of mankind a revelation or new understanding that he believed he had discovered regarding the relationship between man and the universe. Life as experienced by man was a game overseen by cosmic beings, apparently God or several little g gods and the devil, who set the rules by which the game was played. However, man could, by an effort of will, become one such second-generation cosmic being himself, and thereby withdraw from the game on his own terms if he so wished. He would then enter a world of abstract intelligence. Look at those words, please. Look at those letters. He would then enter a world of what? AI. Abstract intelligence. in which he would have no need for his body or any of the other trappings of daily life. At one point, he wrote that this revelation made him happy. That is very close to the Mormon theology as well, and it's very close to something I've always believed inside and have expressed that outwardly. It's something that resonates with me, that we all, the goal is theosis. It is union with God, or to become like God. Now, again, I'm not setting myself up as Lucifer, saying I'm going to be like the Most High. No. I mean, in the union, he meant for us to not be in internal conflict with his Holy Spirit, right? And he wants to see us, what father or parent doesn't want to see their child flourish and grow and do some of the things that they did and even do better things. Christ said we would do even greater things than him. So again, we have to look at these things and take them with a grain of salt and be well balanced. We cannot go to extremes with these verses, with these lessons. Balance is key in maintaining that inner peace, that inner calm. You do not want to be an ocean unto yourself of constant tsunamis and tidal waves within, because it will drown you. Now, I wouldn't say life is a game, but it's definitely it's definitely not as serious, but more serious than you could ever believe. For those of us who are too serious, sometimes we need to take it a little less serious. For those who think it's a game and you get to play again or whatever, maybe you should take it a little more serious. Because I don't know about you, but I don't like playing the same board over and over again. I want to go to something new. I want my spirit to ascend to the next level, the next paradigm, the next level, the next dimension, right? I mean, that's what I want. I would like to be in paradise where I'm meant to dwell and reign. Mankind is meant to reign over paradise. That's what we're supposed to be doing. But we've forgotten who we are. And so it's a long haul to get back there. But again, we're not supposed to get back to what we were. We are supposed to evolve spiritually into something new. We sprung forth from God. We're not supposed to go back to source the way people think, totally without a body. I don't think it happens like that. But again, I don't always have the words for the concepts that I'm now aware of and trying desperately to learn how to explain to you all. Because I do think we have to keep doing this. It's like barrel of monkeys. Christ reached out and he kept walking around to others to pass the message. It is like a virus, but a good virus. You pass that light, that inner shine, it activates something in other people. The gospel is like that. When you read it yourself, these life lessons, something about it activates something in your brain. Words have that power. It awakens something in the Holy Spirit of you. This is why people encourage you to read it. It's some people encourage you to read it because they want you cursed. They don't want you getting too far into belief. Once you're actually a true Christ follower, then you're a danger to them. Once you actually get serious, you're a danger to them and they're scared of you. And this is why they barely come around me anymore. Most of them are scared of me and they want me to be very docile at this time. I do what God wills me to do. When it is time for me to have the final confrontation in my life, where God is the main character, but I am the main supporting character, whatever you want to say. And I don't even want to get into that main character syndrome. I don't think people are NPCs. I think certain beings have that role, right? If you want to call them NPCs, I mean, I was an NPC at one point. I was on automatic pilot, wasn't awake, didn't know who I was. So I try not to condemn anybody at this time. So now he says, that is how I solve the problem, and to let you inside my soul, which is now at peace, I give you my book. I am lucky. I've done something interesting at last. At last, my system has noticed me. Huh, that's amazing. Whereas and see, I want to know what he wrote. So I think that's what I'm going to look for next, is his writings. I want to hear what this alleged madman wrote, because madness is very close to genius. And usually when somebody goes mad after that, for some reason, they disappear. And as much as they say we don't need our bodies, he didn't leave his lying around. It went with him. There's something to these stories, guys.
Whereas at other points, his writings documenting mental arguments with himself, with Albert Einstein, or with God reveal a tortured soul on the brink of self-destruction. While suicide is not explicitly mentioned as an escape route, Tomlin and Hall believe that Crowhurst, whether he was admitting it or not, was groping towards this eventuality with phrases such as, "The quick are quick and the dead are dead. That is the judgment of God. I could not have endured the terrible anguish and meaninglessness waiting. In fact," as well as, "man is forced to certain conclusions by virtue of his mistakes." That is true. It's very hard growing up in a Christian bubble or growing up in any paradigm bubble to have spiritual growth. The people who don't have rough seas, I honestly feel sorry for them because they're not going to have this spiritual propelling that you need to become for your soul to be activated. I don't know any other word for it, so please, I'm not new age, I just don't know how to explain this stuff. Because again, Christianity, churchy Christian Sunday, I love you all, but that is not the bare bones of it. And this is not about looking for another way. It's not about condoning witchcraft or doing any of the craft myself. It is about, hey, we're supposed to look at Christ and not just listen to him, but walk like him and talk like him and do like him. And I'm seeing things in his story that a few other people are seeing, but not many. And so I'm going to keep going with that. And he was not ignorant of things. And again, Christ barely wrote, and that was for a reason. I don't know what would have happened if a part of God came down here and wrote words. We would have been held to them forever. They would never go away. I mean, we're already held to God's word, but you do know what I mean? I don't know if that would have been a good thing. And I'm learning that somehow there is power in these things. It's almost like they're taking movie scripts or book scripts and putting them into a quantum computer and they're becoming part of our reality now. Or maybe we are in the Mormon heaven and we're all meant now here to learn how to control our thoughts and words and get them to manifest into good things for the planes we're going to live on. I don't know, man. All I know is I keep finding these commonalities all throughout. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a war story, if it's a missing person story, if the person was a Christian, a Buddhist, an Islamist. There are these common familiar threads in all of them. And it's leading me to something, but I just don't know what it is yet. And I think there's a big deception about death itself. I know it's not permanent, so I'm not scared of it. But anything that is unknown is a little creepy. Oh, again, if you want my opinion on who the unknown was from that Willy Wonka flop, I will gladly give it to you in a short video. Just comment below and let me know, and I will let you know who I think it is. And it'll probably surprise a lot of people, but if you look at the video again, you might be like, oh my gosh, that does resemble that person. And again, it will shed light on a few things that I've been talking about for months now. I'm going to end this one here because I'm going to look for his actual writings. Let's read his last one. He continued his writings for a week, eventually amounting to more than 25,000 words at 10 a.m. on July 1st by his own reckoning, since in his meditations he had omitted to wind his chronometer and had to subsequently restart it. His chronometer is a clock, guys. It's a clock. He took a clock with him, okay? He continued his writings for a week. Crowhurst commented what Tomlin and Hall believed to be his final confession, also incorporating in their view a count of hours, minutes, and seconds toward the time at which he had decided he would end the game by ending himself. His observations over the next 80 minutes are generally cryptic and or incomplete, but include hints such as... And I'm willing, I need to know, when you decide to opt out, what does that mean? Because they didn't find a body or anything. So how did he opt out? I think that's, I want to know. Did he fast for 40 days and 40 nights? Was he fasting? How long was his journey altogether? We know, June 10th, or was it June 29th, he started the one thing. Cannot see any purpose in the game. Must resign position in sense that if set myself impossible task then nothing achieved by game. Must resign position and sense that if set myself impossible tasks, then nothing achieved by game. Now is revealed the true nature and purpose and power of the game offense. I am what I am, and I see the nature of my offense. It is finished. It is finished. It is the mercy. That's funny. Those were Jesus' last words. It is finished. 11:15 is the end of my game. The truth has been revealed, and it will be done as my family require me to do it. Okay. 11:17, it is the time for your move to begin. I have not need to prolong the game. It has been a good game that must be ended at the... And it says those are missing parts there. I will play this game when I choose. I will resign the game at 11:20:40. There is no reason for harmful... That's what I'm wondering. Like, because you tell your body and the universe, you say, okay, I'm done now. I'm opting out. Like, what then? Does something else happen? It is unclear from the spacing whether 11:20:40 was the time of his last entry or whether it runs on from the preceding wording as his intended time for his ultimate action. Likewise, while the phrase, it is the mercy, is obscure, most commenters have accepted that it signifies his relief at last he is leaving an unbearable situation. I see the nature of my offense. It is mercy. That's not your offense, right? It's revealed the true nature and purpose and power of the game offense. Offense and defense. I see the nature of my offense. Or offense. Okay, I want to know more about this guy, so I'm going to look. His last log entry was on July 1st. It is assumed he either fell or stepped overboard and drowned. The state of the boat gave no indication that it had been overrun by a rogue wave or that any accident had occurred which might have caused him to fall overboard. From his apparent state of mind, as indicated by his most recent logbook entries and philosophical statements, it seems likely that he deliberately decided to take his own life, possibly in an effort to become a second-generation cosmic being, according to his belief, and thereupon have no further need for his earthly body. See, I love that they keep fitting that in. Like, they really don't want us to think our bodies are important. They really want them. And the fact that somebody else really wants our bodies and our lives should make you see how precious they are. You should ask, like, we should ask as a group at this point, like, what do you want about it? If you hate us so badly and you want us gone, why do you want our lives and our bodies? I'm telling you, if you can act out sin with your body, right, and it affects your spirit, then your body is a part of the whole, of the soul. Because you have spirit, mind, and body. All of those things make up the soul. But again, this information has been lost, and the teachings are much different now. And it's I don't have any degrees. I don't have any papers. I didn't go to seminary. I'm just some woman in her bedroom with her dogs. People don't want to listen to me, which is fine. I don't mind that. What I do mind is seeing people led astray deliberately and deliberately suffering when they don't need to, when you can rise above it in your frequency and in your mind and in your spirit at least. I haven't figured out how to do it with the body yet. But you can rise above these situations and they at least won't torment you anymore. And I know other people are going through it. It can't be just me and it can't be just Elayna. There are other people. But shame on the women who are involved in this. Really. For the women who knowingly participated in this and aligned yourself with these non-human beings, shame on you. You know what you've done. And you can laugh it off and say, oh, I don't care about the punishment, this, that, and the other. It's not going to be a party in hell. I don't know why people think that. Well, probably because they're lied to about it. But, you'll be away from God, right? So that'll be great. And you'll get to do what you want. So that'll be great, right? No, that's the whole point. It's not going to be great. It's eternal separation from God. And God is good. So everything that's good here that you love won't be there. Everything good that you love came from God, not those other beings. So it won't be there. There will be nothing of God in hell. There will be only punishment, only discipline, and only you witnessing to yourself of all the mistakes you made and all the different choices you could have made. That was correct, because my angel just talked to me in my ear. And I still got crap in there. I don't know what to do. Anyways, that's definitely woo-woo stuff that most people won't believe. Second generation cosmic being, that's very close to the LDS doctrine on heaven and what happens after you die. So I just wanted to mention that as well. I really like their theology as much as I don't like their politics right now and what the church itself is standing for. Men, it seems men have been seriously misled. Those of us who are in marriages have been misled. Some of us are in polygamous marriages without consent or knowing, involvement. Some of our husbands have unnatural affections. We've been greatly lied to and they've been led astray so that there's access to the family. And if we're divided like that, if they lead the man astray and then lead the woman astray, then it's so much easier to attack you individually and to attack your spirit, to harm and tarnish and corrupt your soul. Okay? The art of war, man. You're in war, dude. But you can be on the defense, man. Okay, so it says the boat was found with the mizzen sail up, although his biographers discounted the possibility that some sort of food poisoning contributed. They acknowledge that there is insufficient evidence to rule it or several other hypotheses. Was there any food at all in the boat? That's what I want to know. Did he have any food with him? And to reveal his actual navigation course, blah, blah, blah. His widow strongly disputes the theory. There was no evidence her husband intended to write a fake logbook, that his death could equally have been a result of the misadventure. All heroes are neurotics, and starting off with his theory, he sought to prove it by the history of Donald. Okay, so she's saying that their book isn't the best take on the situation. The problem with it is that he turned the radio off. They say he turned it off and didn't have any connection with them. But he's also in the Bermuda Triangle area. And nobody is mentioning the possibility of the supernatural. But this happened so long ago, I don't know when they started even talking about that stuff openly. Natural world into a cosmic theater in his mind. Crowhost declared radio silence and switched from the natural world into a cosmic theater of his mind. Okay, so where can I go to? Crowhurst's complete logbooks remain unpublished in the main, although portions were transcribed and facsimiles included in their book. How do you get them? Oh, the 2018 Golden Race. That was the 50th anniversary, guys. Shut up. And you guys know 2018 is when my testimony begins. It's when I think the rapture, well, for me, it's when certain things happen. Entrance must show prior ocean sailing experience. Golden Globe race boat. Who won it? Don McIntyre. July 1st, 2018. No modern technology was allowed. That's awesome. That part is awesome. List of people who disappeared mysteriously at sea. So we look at water a lot, and we're going to look at water because it can hold DNA and memory, or memory like DNA does, allegedly. But I have an issue with DNA lately because if trauma can alter your DNA and certain injectables can alter your DNA, then how are DNA tests even admissible in the court of law if it can be altered and changed? Because they act like it's something like, oh, you can find your family, you can do this, that, and the other. Well, if all of these things affect your DNA, how can... that, again, we're getting this conflicting information that does not make sense, scientifically speaking. But I'm crazy, right? I just can't deal it, man. I cannot deal with it. Donald Crowhurst. All right, one more last thing before I end this video. Because I just want to see...
Wow, they actually have pictures. Shut up. It is finished. It is finished. It is the mercy. It is the end of my game. The truth has been revealed, and it will be done as my family require me to do it. It is the time for your move to begin. Wow, like they have actual pictures. I'm going to go through some of this because I really want to know what type of metaphysical stuff he was writing while out there. There's another picture of him. Man, he looks like somebody. I can't think of his name. The Strange Last Voyage of Donald Crowhurst. I want his logbooks. I want to know how you can access the actual logbooks that he wrote. I want to see it. That's the only page they have, like, sons of guns. Oh, wow, I knew somebody on Reddit would have something. I want to know what he said, though. Too low quality to read. I just had a look at the scans and I read this line. There is no reason for harm as there is no reason for humanity. His eyes started to lack the dots altogether and form too. Everybody's looking for it still. He was really close to the truth. You are the player, you get the prize if you win according to the rules. There are plenty of watchers who observe our game. The game is personal and the rewards are personal after the game is over. Game over is death, and death is mercy. No one likes a long game. No one. Eventually, you just want it to end. Mercy rules are there for this reason. Think of those long Monopoly games that you just want to end, but there must be a winner. Plotinus and Solomon had it figured out too. Learn the rules of the game and you will enjoy it much more without all the therapy and meds. I read the Bible, the King James Version. Is this the guy that... Yes. King James Version, English Holy Bible to be precise, that this is without a doubt the largest conspiracy on the planet, bar none. The truth and wisdom found in the Bible is without end. You will never master that book. It cannot be stopped. It's not a planet. Earth shall not be moved. Earth has foundations, face of the earth. Do not trust man, trust God. Yes, we know. Shall not pass away, but my word shall not pass away. All right, so, well, I'm going to get into the story because it really looks interesting. And I'll see what other interesting notes he found, because this goes along one of the first videos that I posted on this channel when I moved everything to this channel was called The Death Simulation. If you have not seen that, if you're interested in it, it's like one of the first videos. I can maybe, if it'll let me go to my page. What you do with the videos, like, see how it says latest, popular, and oldest? You can go to the oldest one, and that's kind of where those didn't get any views, but they were creepily very real to life, which was strange. Right here. This one. I'll share it to the page now. There. If you want to watch that, you can. Thank you for being here with me, Virginia. It was awesome seeing you. I'm so glad you're all right. Shoot me an email if you want. Just let me know how you've been. I forget who you are, Bright Light. Thank you for being here. May God bless you. Shalom. May your day
Be full of peace, and may your soul be at peace. I love you guys.